African Tales by Bibe. Part 2. With the decision Olanma made with Jessica, she felt better. Yes, it was very embarrassing and uncomfortable for her not to register for the examination, but she still had hope. 1 week to the deadline of registering for the senior school certification examination, Amadi called Olanma to his presence when his wife was out of the house. "Yes, uncle," she said quietly, waiting for him to proceed. "Have you paid for your WAEC?" "No, sir." She kept her face expressionless. "Why haven't you told me about it?" He sat forward, looking concerned. "My auntie knows about it, so there was no need to disturb you, sir," she replied. "How much is it?" Olanma told him. "Ah, that's not a big deal. But, Ola, I want you to do one thing for me." His eyes began to roam her body, and Olanma felt uncomfortable. "I scratch your back. You scratch my back," he said with a chuckle. Olanma shook her head innocently. "I don't understand you, sir." "You don't understand? Are you a child?" "Sir, Auntie gave me some chores to do in the kitchen. Can I go back to them?" Wait. I'll show you." He began to get to his feet. Olanma bolted from the living room, her feet almost not touching the ground. From the kitchen she could hear Amadi laughing. "The worst is that his children are not around, at least to discourage him from this nonsense, Tua." Olanma spat in disgust. Quickly she tidied the kitchen and prepared the ingredients for stew. Her aunt said she would make the soup herself. The next day was Friday. Around 7 o'clock in the evening, Deborah prepared to go to a night vigil at her church. Olanma's heart continued to beat rapidly. "I can't stay alone with him in the house tonight. I can't, she thought desperately. "Auntie, please let me go with you to the night vigil," Olanma told Deborah in the kitchen. "Why?" Deborah snapped, eyeing her with suspicion. I, Olanma stammered, looking around her in confusion. "I need prayers, too. I need prayers." "Don't worry, I'll put you in prayers," her aunt shut down the topic. Olanma didn't know what else to say. Easy was not at home, neither was Helen. They were at their friends' houses. Olanma's heart continued to pound. Soon after, Deborah left for her night vigil. 1 hour later, she served dinner to Amadi, yam with goat meat pepper soup. When he was done, she went to carry the plates. He was seated in the living room. "Leave those plates and come sit with me here. This night is our night," Amadi told her. Olanma stiffened. She threw him one glance and lifted the used plates. "Sir, I'll drop these plates first," she told him. "Please hit the like button. Subscribe." "Thanks for that. Let's continue." In the kitchen, Olanma walked up and down, wondering what to do next. She didn't want to risk staying the night alone again with Uncle Amadi. The last time it happened 3 weeks ago, the man kept knocking on her door to let him in. She had worn several trousers and shorts to safeguard her palace. Luckily, the man had gone back to his bedroom. "God help me tonight," she muttered as she packed the plates in the sink. She had no time to wash them now. "Olanma." Olanma turned round and stared at Amadi blocking the kitchen doorway. "Sir?" She did her best not to show her fear. "Leave the plates for now," he said, moving close to her. She stood her ground, watching him. "Touch me," he said, taking her hand and guiding it towards his arrow. Swiftly, Olanma snatched her hand away and pushed him away. She didn't look back as she bolted out of the kitchen. She took the back door and ran out of the house. "Olanma, come back here," Amadi yelled. She did not stop running. "God, please, please," she breathed. Olanma arrived at Jessica's house, breathless, tears running down her cheeks. She banged on the gate. "Who is there?" a man's voice asked loud. It's me, Olanma," she replied brokenly. The gate was opened and Jessica's father stared at her in the dark. "Olanma? Why are you here?" Mr. Okizi asked in surprise. "Sir, let me stay here tonight," Olanma sobbed. Come in, Jessica's father told her with concern, stepping aside for her to enter. Olanma entered the compound, trying to control her emotions. "Ola!" Jessica called in surprise, running forward to meet her friend. "What happened?" Jessica's mother, Uloma, asked with care, holding Olanma's shoulder. "I don't want to stay with Uncle Amadi tonight. I'm scared," she pleaded. All right, come in," Jessica's mother told her, leading her into the house. Jessica patted her friend's back gently as they moved into the house. Olanma explained to them what Amadi was trying to do to her. They were all shocked. "You can stay with us as long as you want. We'll protect you," Jessica's father told her. "Yes, our home is yours. Don't worry," Jessica's mother added. Olanma thanked them, and Jessica led her to her room so she can rest for the night. "Nawa for that man," Jessica's mother told her husband as they sat down in the living room. "The man's a fool. He's just disgracing himself," her husband concurred. Jessica helped her friend to be comfortable in her room and allowed her to rest. Olanma felt relieved. "I'm not going back to that house," she thought as her eyes slowly closed. The next morning, Deborah returned home and found out Olanma was away from home. "Where did she go?" she asked her husband. Amadi shrugged. "I don't know. I told her to get me a glass of water, and after a while, I didn't hear from her. I checked the kitchen, but she wasn't there," he said nonchalantly. When did this start? Ha, I'll teach that girl a lesson. Maybe she went to a man's house, so she now has a boyfriend and can go to him at night. Chai, I don't suffer." Deborah bit her index finger. Her husband left her and walked away. 1 hour later, Olanma arrived at Deborah's house with Jessica's parents. Deborah was surprised to see them enter the compound. She tried to rush at Olanma and design her with some beatings, but Jessica's father restrained her. "What's your problem, Mama Ease? Do you know what your husband has been trying to do to this girl?" "What are you talking about?" Deborah fummed. "All I've done for this girl, she wants to repay me by growing wings," she spat. "Call your husband," Jessica's mother ordered her. "Why?" Deborah stared at them with a heavy frown. "Call him, then you'll know since you're blind in your own home," Jessica's father said sternly. Deborah was about to enter the house when her husband, Amadi, came out, looking innocent. "What's going on here? Olanma, where are you coming from?" He sounded offended. Olanma did not reply. She only frowned at him heavily. "We have come to collect Olanma's belongings," Jessica's mother told them. "What? What did you say?" Deborah inclined her ears towards them. "Olanma has decided she will not live with you anymore," Jessica's mother informed her. Deborah broke into a raucous laughter. "Where's that coming from?" She stared at Olanma and then at Jessica's parents. "Uncle Amadi is always chasing me around when you're out of the house. I can't live like that again," Olanma said with determination, taking a deep breath. "What? What rubbish is this girl talking about? My dear, don't listen to her. They want to tarnish my image." He turned to his wife righteously. Deborah looked at Olanma steadily. Then she shook her head. "So this is how you repay me, how you repay us? Telling lies against us?" "I'm not lying," Olanma maintained a strong voice. "I'm thankful you took me in when I was a child. Despite all the hardship you made me go through, I didn't mind. But I'll not do what Uncle Amadi wants from me." "Sharap!" Deborah barked at her. "Get lost. I don't want to see you ever again," she said heatedly, and stormed into the house. "Look at this girl. Just look at how she accuses me," Amadi said, spreading his hands. He followed his wife into the house. "I'm not lying," Olanma told Jessica's parents. "Don't worry, we didn't expect him to confess." "Let them bring out your things first," Jessica's mother assured her. "Take these rags and get lost," Deborah shouted as she threw Olanma's clothes and old box out through the door. Olanma rushed forward and gathered her things. My books. I need my books, she pleaded. Which books? You're a joker. Get lost, her aunt fumed. Don't worry about books, we'll buy you new ones, Jessica's father told her. By this time, some other tenants in the compound had come out to their balconies, watching the whole drama. Quickly, Olanma gathered her clothes and stuffed them into her box. Let's go, Jessica's mother said, waving her hand. Olanma followed them out of the compound. Back in their house, Deborah glared at her husband in the living room. Why did Olanma accuse you? Were you really chasing her? Her eyes were as cold as ice. Amadi looked shocked and offended. Me? Ha! But can that girl make false accusations against Amadi? Deborah asked herself. Then she shrugged off the idea uncomfortably. Olanma began a new phase in her life. She was so relieved to have escaped from her aunt and her husband. She was thankful to Jessica's parents for accommodating her. Since she couldn't register for WACE, she told Jessica's parents that she wouldn't be comfortable going to school every day. She convinced them to let her go out and find a job. If it were easier for us, we would have paid for your exams, Jessica's mother told her. I appreciate what you're already doing for me, Ma. I'll work harder. Also, the last deadline has expired, so I'll work towards taking GCE, she assured her. All right, Ola. You're a strong girl. I want you to be stronger. Out there is not an easy world. But with focus and God's grace, you can achieve your dreams. Yes, Ma, she replied. Don't follow men. If you follow them, you might lose your focus and lose your integrity. As long as you're here with us, you'll not go hungry, Jessica's mother told her. Yes, Ma, thank you very much, Olanma told her happily. Olanma went out and scouted their area for a job. She got 2 leads, both of which were gas station attendant jobs. She was hopeful. 3 days later, she secured a job in one of the gas stations. The pay wasn't much, but at least she would be able to earn some money for the first time in her life. And she would also show gratitude to her hosts at the end of each month by buying small-scale provisions. For the next 5 months, Olanma worked tirelessly at the gas station. While her mates took their exams, she worked. Many of her schoolmates were shocked to see her working rather than sitting for the exams. She devised a way of avoiding them. She left very early, around 6:45 in the morning. That way she saw very few of them and avoided their pitying eyes. Some others laughed at her when they passed her on the road for dropping out and made rude comments. Olanma did not mind. As far as she escaped from Aunt Deborah and her husband, she would weather everything else. In the evening, Olanma still studied her books. In fact, she and Jessica studied together, and she asked Jessica several questions to jog her memory. They were happy together. Olanma also did not joke with house chores in the house. She helped Jessica do things faster so they can proceed to other things for the day. By July, Olanma had saved enough money to register for GCE. She had the full support of Jessica's family. She studied ahead for the exam, using past questions to improve her problem-solving skills. No doubt, Olanma attracted a lot of men, as she was a beautiful girl. At the filling station, many gave her their cards to call them or come see them. Olanma knew the journey ahead wasn't going to be easy. She wasn't planning on going to the university because there was no funds to pursue that, and she had little or no information about scholarship schemes. Even if she got a scholarship which mainly covered tuition, what about other expenses in school? She just wanted to get her SSCE and decide the next thing to do. Eventually, the GCE started. She was glad to finally sit for an external exam. She did her best to answer the questions correctly. During that period, she once met her Aunt Deborah on the road. The woman tried to sweet-talk her. "Come back to the house, Ola." "We miss you very much," Deborah told her sweetly. "You miss all the bad things you used to do to me," Olanma thought, smiling at her. "No, Auntie, I will not come back. Greet Ease and Helen for me," she said, and quickly walked away. She can't deceive me, she thought, glancing back to see Deborah glaring at her. I thought as much. On the day of mathematics, Olanma was excited. Though she was good at math, she was still excited. I hope to solve my math without any problems today, she told her friend as she prepared to leave the house. You'll solve them correctly, don't worry, Jessica told her, laughing. Mine wasn't too difficult. Olanma rubbed her palms together and wiped them on her face, laughing. God help me. The paper was scheduled for 9 o'clock, so she prepared early so as not to be late. You can't be late for mathematics. She left the house around 8:10 a.m. and trekked the short distance to the main road. It had rained the previous night, so the roads were still wet. She waited for a commercial tricycle, usually called KK. Cars sped by, and most of the tricycles were filled up with passengers. Come on, KK. Where are you? She muttered, getting impatient. Just then, a black SUV drove by, and the tires drove through a pool of water close to Olanma. The heavy splash poured on her clothes. Oh my goodness, she explained with wide eyes, staring down on her wet and dirty clothes. No, no, she whimpered, moving aside from the pool of water. Why did I even stand close to this water? She continued. Olanma looked up to see that the vehicle was moving backwards. The car parked by the curb, and a young man around 24 came hurrying towards her. I'm so sorry, I didn't see the water, he begged. Olanma stared at him. He stared at her. In a moment, it seemed everywhere became still. Then she snapped out of the trance and looked at him, pissed. Mathematics. Today is mathematics, and you did this, she admonished. I'm very sorry. Come, I'll take you home so you can change, the young man suggested hopefully. I'll be late. I can't miss my exam, she said with agitation, looking the other side of the road with the hope of seeing a tricycle or a minibus. She could feel the man's eyes on her. What's your name? Olanma turned to him with fiery eyes. I'm late for my exam, and you're asking for my name. She turned back to the road and saw a tricycle approaching. KK, she yelled. Please watch part 3 in the comments. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now. It will help us bring you more interesting stories. Thanks for watching. See you in part 3.